This is the Heidi Expressions Test Game by Leah Havaranen, part of the Precision Vision Kit. This assessment assesses how well a child understands facial expressions. In the instructions, Leah Havaranen explains that there are two possible reasons for not being able to understand expressions. First of all, that the child doesn't see well enough to interpret the facial expressions, and this is more likely due to an acuity or a contrast sensitivity issue. Or they have damage to the area of the brain that recognises facial expression. By using this test and playing the games, we can establish what the correct reason is. The test has expressions of full contrast, 100%, and other cards where the contrast is reduced to 10% and 2.5%. We begin by looking at the 100% contrast, so the darkest black on white. And we would begin by looking at these cards individually and discussing each of these expressions with the child and perhaps drawing them ourselves and naming them. You will see that there are 6 expressions here, and of those 6 expressions there are 3 cards for each one. Let's take this one. The girl is smiling. This is Heidi again. So we have our first one here, second, third. Now you will notice that 2 are the same, and the one here on the left, there's a bow in the hair, and that's quite deliberate. So once we've discussed the expressions and the child has got a name for each one, we would choose only 2. So for example, we may take smiling and we may take crying. I'm going to just move the others out of the way. We would then lay these cards out randomly and ask the child, you can see that there, if they could match them together, all the ones that are the same. What we'd be looking for particularly is that the child did not match the 2 with the hair bow, because then they haven't taken into account the expression on the face. They've looked at the bow. This is more likely to indicate that there is a problem with understanding the facial expression. If they can match it, and they can do so successfully, we would then move on to the other cards and do the same. If they can do those things, we would then move on to the 10% contrast, crying here, and 10% contrast, perhaps of laughing, and find out if they could match. Now again, if they could match the 100% and we've moved on to 10% and they have difficulty, then this suggests that there's an issue with contrast. And that needs to be then looked at further. If they match all of the 10% correctly, we then move on to the paler 2.5% and continue with the game that way. So that is the Leah Havaranen Heidi Expressions test and game.